Welcome to Chat with Leaders. Our mission is to give resilient servant leaders a platform for sharing the inspiring things they're doing to lead their teams, customers, and themselves wisely. I'm Jeff Bond, Director of Client Services at Berry, and today's host. I'm proud to welcome Ahmed Gadir to chat with us today. Ahmed, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks. Great to be here.
The purpose of this show, Ahmed, and why I invited you on is because I think that you are a terrific leader in every sense of the word. The point is to give our guests a platform to share what's inspiring their leadership in today's current age. And we certainly have a lot going on with coronavirus and social distancing and everything. Any specific challenges that you're working to overcome and how you're doing that, and some of the principles that you're putting into practice to lead faithfully and experience success in this current time. Before we get started, I'm going to put you on the spot. What is something that people think they know about you, Ahmed, that maybe, or maybe that they don't know about you that would be interesting?
So I thought motorcycle would be probably something that people will not guess that I usually enjoy motorcycle. But actually funny, some people don't know that I was born here and grew up overseas. And most people that meet me, they think that I'm from overseas, but actually I was born in DC. So that's one thing I think people don't know about me. So
yeah, and I always admire people that have traveled the world. I feel like it gives an immense perspective and sense of understanding and empathy for a multitude of people. I think that's a great quality to have as a leader when you're leading diverse teams with diverse ideas and backgrounds. That's really something that I love in great leaders. So let's start by talking about your profession. You're a software engineering manager. You've always been technical by trade. What do you think is, what's the secret sauce that makes a great development team? And what is your responsibility as a leader that fosters those conditions?
Sure. So to me, a good leader is the one that leads by example. And throughout my career, I had really good managers where they actually led by example. They were actually a good developer, good architects. They were good at the craft, but they actually were the leaders of the team. And actually, they were humble and smart. But to me, one of the good traits of the leaders to be humble and know their craft. Even though leader by example is kind of harder than I thought it would be. And honestly, I think this is a craft really for a manager that I look for, that somebody that lead by example and actually have more human touch than technical. I mean, we all have to be good technical, but to be a manager, you have to really read people and work well with people. And actually think about the team and think about the big picture. And also, I kind of like the leadership, almost like the army. I mean, the leaders have to be part of the soldiers, or in the crunches with the team. So if there's a release, if there is a long hours, weekends, I think as a leader, you have to be there too with your team, and that actually will help the morale and help them work with you and give you 110%, 120%. Because in myself, if I see my manager or my leader is looking at for the team and work hard with us, that makes me want to work harder and do more. Because I feel like, I don't want to let that person down. It's hard to find a good leader. Once you have a good leader, you want to make sure that, you work well and make sure that the team, accomplish the goal and shine. But to me, it's more of a, if you heard that artisan is skill, but I think it's more of art, and you have to be genuine too. You have to be really good with people, and you have to be a good person.
How do you approach those conversations when you recognize that somebody maybe isn't in a position where they're leveraging their strengths? You need to confront that reality with them and help guide them towards a better position within the team. That's a hard thing for leaders to do because it's confrontation. So tell me about how you approach that and how you've been able to navigate those situations in your leadership.
I agree with you. Jeff is very hard because actually you have to convince them first of all to see that. And you cannot change somebody unless they want to change something in themselves. So if they're comfortable with that position and they don't want to go to that position, it's going to be hard. But I guess you have to show them a little bit smaller wins. You're going to be a little bit comfortable sometimes saying like, hey, we got to do, let's say if there's a QA person, that does not like, does not see that he's a, let's do the opposite. Developer does not see that he has a QA eye, a eye for QA. So you mentioned that in his, one-on-one or talks, and say like, hey, you're really good at this. You're really going to be a good QA person, especially if other team members start seeing those kind of see that skills, and we need it. I think sometimes it's just discussion and patience, and show them the strength. And I'll be honest with you, changing people is very hard, and I don't think we're in the business of changing people. But let's say sometimes even myself, let's say if I think I'm good at something, but I'm really good at something else, uh, it's probably going to take me time to see what I'm good at. It takes time for me to see that, but somebody can coach me, and show me the way. Then it will be difficult, but there will be aha moments. Like I see what's going on. I have an example for that one. Actually, there's a guy named a friend of mine actually, and he worked with Microsoft. His name is Don Harden. I think that's the beginning of my programming experience, and he wanted to show me that there's a different way of solving a problem. And he wanted to solve the problem with the object-oriented kind of design, and the patterns and so forth. But I thought the problems were too simple to go through, not to overcomplicate it. But he spent, I think, from 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night at the office. We're going back and forth, but my way and his way. Eventually, I saw the light, and at like almost midnight. And I still that day carry that favor for that person, because he didn't have to stay that long or explain to me his point of view. And my solution, his solution, were getting us to the same point, or at that point. But in the future, when we scale it up and change it, his solution was a lot better. And it took me a while to see like, hey, I'm not looking at what's going on now. I want to see the bigger picture. And I learned from that experience.
And I've been around technology long enough to see when software projects get derailed. And it's not because it was the wrong tech, or it's usually because it's the team and it's the ego that gets in the way, that people can't debate, the team can't debate the path openly and come to a consensus as to what the solution is. And then there comes that friction that goes along with it that's irresolvable. And and I imagine that you are kind of that person that shepherds that healthy debate, and that pushes it through, and that gets past it to the point where you can execute projects successfully. And let me read a testimonial or a recommendation I found on your LinkedIn. It said, Ahmed, hands down, is the best manager that I have ever had the honor to work with in my career. He's incredibly driven and passionate about his work, and has never hesitated to give 120% of himself. You said 120% earlier, so that's evident that that's important to you. You have a knack for pushing the products he's responsible for to the next level of innovation. More importantly than his work, however, is the way he treats his team. She goes on to say things like, helps drive us to be better in everything that we do, gives countless evenings and weekends to help his team through tough times. An incredible mentor, made me a better person by knowing him, truly cares about the people. When you let those words soak in, how does that make you feel? It seems like leadership is important to you, but when you think about the impact that you have on people's lives.
Actually, that comment made me very happy when I saw her comments. And actually, she's one of the best developer people ever worked with. Smart and motivated, and but actually, it feels so rewarding. But I think it feels like you accomplish something and motivate you. But honestly, I really, with her team, I had a really good, incredible team. I have a really strange story with that team, by the way. And when I first joined the company, the team did not have a manager, and they were really smart, but really did not want authority, and did not want to work well together and so forth. And there was, I mean, after me learning leadership myself, and Ben Shippens has helped me a little bit see the lights and work differently. So I hired her, and I hired Will as well, and start building the team. And that's the best team I ever worked with. She was incredible, and Will as well. And it was a great team. And it's hard to leave a company that way, because you feel like you left your children. But sometimes when you see them grow and become a better leader themselves and move up, you feel proud and you keep in touch with them and just be happy. But I'm really flattered about her comments. She's really nice to say that. So, yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think it's so hard to remain on the bleeding edge of technology while being the effective leader that you described?
Technology is changing a lot, and every 6 months something new comes in, and new patterns, anti-patterns, and there's newer, completely different languages and approaches and challenges. It's a full time by itself to just keep up in, like, let's say mobile or web or maybe API backend or database or whatever technology you're in. And to be a leader where you have to spend a lot of time mentoring the team and coaching and working with people and building your team, you tend to get away from the details of the technology. But I think you still can keep yourself sharp in knowing the patterns, the approaches, different ways, and even talk. Like sometimes I like in YouTube, there's a tech lead in YouTube is a channel, and that person was kind of he worked for bigger companies, and he described his experience. And I love to watch his show to just figure out what things he'd go through, what kind of technology, and he's more technical as well, deeply technical. So sometimes you can see his approaches of solving a bigger problem. And even sometimes, I mean, I watch like the videos for the Amazon and Google kind of interview challenges. Sometimes just see how they solve a problem and how quickly people can put things together, figure out how to solve complex problems, and each person will come up with almost a slightly different approach. And to me, that's what I like. And even in my interview, I like to do that, just a challenge of seeing how you think, how can you break a problem and solve it in a high level. Coding is important, but I think solving a problem itself and find a solution to a problem is more important to me. Yeah. So
That's a great point. I've heard that often. And I've also, last question, heard about a lot of people that have grown into a software engineering leader, director, manager. Maybe they get to a C-suite and they
mhm,
look back and they regret some of that growth. They get away from
mhm.
the things that they're passionate about, building, writing code, solving problems versus managing people. What advice would you have for somebody that's considering a move from maybe a senior software engineer or architect into a manager role, into a leadership role? What would
Yeah.
you advise them to consider before they make that leap?
Sure. I mean, if to me, you can be a hands-on technical manager, which I'll love to be and to maintain that part. The first year, maybe the first 6 months, is going to be a little bit challenging. You're not an individual contributor anymore. You actually worry about the team and the bigger picture. And given away sometimes that control, or sometimes say like if you want to get something done, do it yourself. This is completely wrong with leadership. You have to trust your team, and if you can do it better, you still have to be patient and let the team members arrive to that solution. And if you think you know something, you have the right idea in the meeting. Let's say you have to be patient, let the team pick up whatever, almost democracy, pick up the solution they work with, and eventually, if they arrive to the same conclusion, that's fine. If they find another approach, you learn something new. So, and you mentioned earlier saying how you resolve conflict. Actually, I love discussions and meetings and war rooms and discussion, because the good idea is going to come from from those kind of meetings. And if you think that the discussion is going to be healthy and you're going to learn from it, people are actually going to welcome it. And I know it's going to be hard for the team members. Some team members hate meetings and war rooms and storming and so forth. But after a while, they can see that, hey, if I have a user story or an epic, I understand exactly how we arrived to that solution and what's the background discussion behind that. And we were all in a room to come to that conclusion. Because sometimes the worst thing is you get a task or user stories or something, and you work on it and you don't know why we're doing it that way. To me, I think that the team in Agile, you have to be all involved, and I welcome discussions. Either you learn something, or you can, you might contribute by something from your experience to the team. But I think the discussion is healthy. To me, the opposite is worries me. If the team is not, they're not talking, not discussing, they're not talking to each other, that's to me a flag. It's something wrong. But if they're, especially technical people, like we all read our blogs or books and have our ideas and our experience, we want to share it. Yes, there's some introvert and extrovert in team members, and as a leader, you probably have to make sure that each one have the same amount of time and discussion. But I think people are passionate about what they're doing. You can't be in this industry for too long and you're not passionate about it. There's something must be driving you, or you like, or you find very interesting. And when you have that, you want to share it with the team, and want to share it with your company, and you want to bring something new. And to us, you really hire people experience and their contribution into the team. And I cannot block that. You have to make sure you will commit. They say, just say it, say something. I can be wrong. I mean, there's a lot of things that, you know, you think they're that one way, and after discussion, you can see like, oh, there's some details that I missed. I didn't see the big picture. And just from discussing and talking about some problem, you just open your eyes to it, and somebody else can help you look at it differently, or they can see something that you're not seeing and help you out. So I think as a team leader, you have to make sure the team talks and feel free and comfortable to give their ideas. To me personally, I've seen that in many places, but the worst team leads is, or the worst leader, the one that does not allow their team to grow and find another approach to the problems they see.
So is there a good way, Ahmed, for people to get a hold of you if they want to learn more or just have conversations with you?
Sure. They can approach me in my LinkedIn. I think that will be probably the easiest way to connect with me. I do have a technical blog, but I've neglected. I need to go back and make sure it's up there. But I'll send you the links, and they can get a hold of me that way.
Great. Well, we'll get that closed or posted up on our website, chatwithleaders.com. We'll also make sure to share this conversation on all our social media pages, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All our handles are chatwithleaders.com. If you have any suggestions for our show or any questions for myself, Chris, or Tim, our co-hosts, you can email us at info@chatwithleaders.com. Ahmed, thank you again so much for joining us tonight. It was truly a gift.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.